A short-haired, brown-headed NB in a lemon yellow singlet top sits in a bed, backed up against a brown chocolate fabric headboard and pale blue wool, and rambles at a camera. Here in my home on unceded Ngunnawal, Ngambri and Ngarigo lands, bringing you mental health musings. I want to talk a little bit tonight about the impact of poor NDIS service provision on those who are NDIS participants with psychosocial disabilities, and actually disability in general. When you are an NDIS participant, it's because the NDIS has determined you have lifelong hurdles that require supports that you can't get any other way. That is why we're given our funding. The way the NDIS is delivered is that there, for participants, are 3 levels of being able to access and manage your funding. You are either agency managed, or plan managed, or self-managed. If you are agency managed, if your funding is agency managed, providers actually have to be registered as agency registered providers. That funding is then released directly by the NDIS to the providers to deliver your services. If you are plan managed, you have far more choice and control over how you spend that funding, and the providers are then paid by a plan manager. If you're self-managed, the only difference is that you are the one that is then responsible for paying the invoices from that pocket of funding. Now, this was designed in this way to give different styles of needs different levels of choice and control and protection. For me, I'm plan managed, and it works well in that there are some things that I have needs for that an agency registered provider can't necessarily provide. For plan and self-managed participants, all that the providers need is an active ABN, work cover insurance, and hopefully completion of the NDIS work orientation module, although that is not mandated. But it can be easily found on the Quality and Safeguards webpage, and it takes about an hour of your time. I've done it myself. Now, this was done to allow for far more flexibility in service provision. If you are a provider for a plan or a self-managed participant, it means that if, say for myself, if I have access the community funding or assistance in daily living funding or NDIS transport funding, pretty much anyone can provide it as long as it's not a direct family member or friend or carer. Problem is the impact of sole traders that renege at the last minute. And unfortunately today, with my recovery coach and I have had to clean up the mess of someone that's just done that again. And it's not an isolated incident, and it's certainly not particular just to my experience. Unfortunately, what happens with sole traders is that they decide they're going to not work with an organisation. It's easier in the disability space to go to somewhere like a platform like Mabel or Higher Up, and sidestep a lot of the administrative work. If you're an agency registered participant, you can and should sign a service agreement. This allows the provider and you to say, well, this is the service I expect, and if I don't get it, these are the ways I can advocate to make sure that what I've been promised is actually delivered. It allows for cancellation times on shifts. It allows for cancellation times in terms of going, you know what, I'm not happy with this, and I'm using my choice and control to find something else. But plan and self-managed participants don't have to provide these service agreements. And when people are left stranded, when they are dependent on a provider to provide a need, and they're given less than 2 hours notice that that person is not going to show up, or is not going to deliver what they've been contracted to be paid for, yeah, sure, they don't get paid, but the impact on the participant that is dependent on that service can be astronomical. So I want to suggest for those of you out there who may be experiencing this, a little, not hack, but solution to this problem that you actually 100% have access to and have ability to utilize. Develop your own service agreement. Take that to your providers and say, this is what I expect. This is the cancellation notice I expect you to give. If I need to cancel because something comes up, this is the cancellation notice I will give. And if I don't give it, you are more than welcome to bill me. They actually have that right. What people don't understand is that while self and plan managed providers are not bound as with the responsibilities of an agency managed provider, they are still bound by the NDIS Code of Conduct. They are still expected to understand that they are providing a service to someone with a disability. And if you are struggling with making sure that people provide the service that they are paid for, you can go to them with your own service agreement. You can take a template from another service agreement. You can develop your own. This is what I expect. And if it doesn't happen, this is how it will be dealt with. Because when you and your provider are on the same page, and that is formalized, it can actually up the quality of your service because everyone's clear on what they're providing and why. And if they're not going to sign the service agreement, the sad reality is that you have to find someone else and you could be out there for a while. But when you find the good ones, they're keepers. So make them know, let them know that they're valued and make sure they know what they're expected to provide.